So, looks like everyone has one, and so what I'd like to do is have, let's have 3 people come up and actually draw the analogy that you came up with, okay? So you can single one of the people out from your group and make them go up to the board. You can volunteer. So let's get 3 people that are brave and would love to come up and get attention. Okay, so let's see. 1, 2, 3. Very cool. Okay, so just grab a marker. Why don't you guys all come up at once? So you're not like, single out. You're gonna draw high quality. Oh, yeah. Oh wait, now I can.
She drawing turkeys.
Oh, I just don't know. I don't know.
I really.
Critique them. Just kidding. So these are all good. I want to talk about these in relation, of course, to the sample and population. All right, so let's look at the first one. So we have the fish tank, okay? And where'd you go? Okay. Can you explain your metaphor, your analogy metaphor?
So we thought about like a fish tank because it's like their own little population. It's kind of like similar to like us.
Uh-huh.
It's like their own fish. And the sample would be like picking out some of the fish, like with your eyes closed or
Okay. Yeah. So and then what would be ideal once you pick the fish out? What kind of fish would you want to be in that net?
I don't know. I guess it would be like random.
Hopefully, like if you were to take fish out, you're gonna, not look at it when you scoop them out, right?
You want to pick out the fish that's like most represented in the population.
So you're hoping that you'll pick out the ones that are most represented in the population, sure. And you do that by doing it randomly. So I'm going to just add a little bit to this drawing. Okay. So we're going to have I'm going to add some color, so a little red fish. And we're going to have the green fish. We're going to have the blue fish. It's okay if I'm ruining your drawing. And let me just do more. Okay. Okay, so we have, so when we have a population, okay, we actually don't know how many or what kind of fish, what colors let's just stick with colors right now. We don't know what colors of fish that are existing. So if this was an analogy using fish, we'd have to, we couldn't look in the tank. So maybe it's dark, turn the light up in the tank or something like that, blindfold us, whatever. So we don't know, this is unknown. So this population is unknown, just like all the populations of interest. Okay, so this represents the unknown population. So this, whatever we get out of here, okay, we're gonna hope represents that population. We're not gonna know for sure, because we don't know what the population is, but we're gonna hope that it is, okay? So let's say that we pull out, 3 fish, and we pull these guys out. Okay. So we pull out a red and a blue and a green. So would that be a representation of the colors of the fish? Okay. So let's assume that we don't know that. Okay, I mean we don't know this, but we get these. All right. What's the best way or ways that we can how can we make it more likely that we're going to scoop out a representative sample of this unknown population? What's something that we can do?
Increase the sample size?
Oh, yes. So we can increase sample size. That's a big deal. Okay. So if we happen to draw, blue ones, 2 blue and 1 green, okay, not necessarily the same representative, okay, but if we kept drawing more and more, okay, then it's going to be more likely that we're going to be very close to the same. If we drew, say we have, let's say we have 20 fish in here, and we drew 3 out. They weren't representative of the population. We drew 5 out, more likely to represent. 10 out, more likely to represent. 18 out, very highly likely to represent. And what if we drew all 20 out? Is that going to represent all 20? Yeah, right. So the higher, the bigger the N, the more fish we scoop out, the more likely it's going to be like the population. Okay, so good. See what else? All right. Any questions about this one? Anything else more that we can say? Yeah.
Do you do more than one trial, or does that complicate it?
Okay, so there's different types of statistical procedures that we would use. So you would most likely take, if you take a sample, then and you want to take another trial, you would have to take another sample. So we'd have to have new data. So yeah, and you can do the same thing, you can measure the same thing on each sample, but you would just, you would have to take several different samples, right? And then there's other things. We have different populations, of course, where you're going to be comparing populations of interest. So, yes. Okay. Increase sample size. What's another thing? What's another thing that we can do to be more confident that they're going to be representative? So you mentioned, so when you do have a whole tank of fish, okay, usually you do see the fish before you scoop it out, right? Maybe you don't care what fish you get, but you do see the fish, all right? So, when you don't see the fish, okay, you're getting what kind of sample?
Random.
Yes. Random sampling. anything else about how we could increase our chance of getting a sample that's representative? Anybody? Yeah, Jeopardy music on.
Could you re-ask the question?
I can re-ask the question. So what is another way that we can increase the likelihood of drawing a sample of fish that represents the population of fish? Yes.
So depending on like what you're testing from the fish, you could stratify it and like separate them by like different, like, oh, here's big fish, medium fish, little fish, and I wanted to get colors of all of them. I could then separate them and then randomly select from each of those 3 different categories.
Okay, so if your question is specifically about getting, you specifically want to get this group compared to this group compared to this group, right? So then you might want to divide up the fish in certain ways, okay? So I guess we do have fish tanks where they have, like little dividers, so something like that, right? So I'm going to actually put I like the use of that. Okay. All right, so those are 3, and we'll come up with some more later on, but those are just 3 of the ways that we can make sure that this is similar to the population, the unknown population. Okay, great. Let's go on to this one. So population here, sample here. Okay, can you explain that relationship?
Yeah, so the sample is just one part of the population separated.
That's yeah, it is. Right. Is this the same hand?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have this hand and then, okay. If it's the same hand and you're taking, like, are you saying that you're purposely taking the index finger or you're
I just did a random.
randomly selecting which finger?
Yeah.
Okay. There's 5 here, and you already know that there's 5. I mean, you already know there's 5, right? So, and you already know it's you. So there is a very high likelihood, okay, that you're going to choose a finger that's the same as the other fingers. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the population of interest here is what's the population of interest here? Your fingers, okay? And so you draw a finger, you point to a finger randomly, and whatever that is going to be representative of this population that comes from you. So actually, this is an interesting question. So are you wanting to, gosh, this is really a stretch. Are you wanting to take this finger, okay, and you already know that you want to get in the next finger, or you just want a finger? A finger, okay? So so we clearly know the population here, and this is problematic because we don't know the population generally, okay? But we know this actually quite intimately because it's our own hand. So how could we make this representation a little more analogous to the relationship between the two? Yeah.
For instance, we have like a group of hands, and then you could pick one hand individually, I guess, but like, I don't know.
Okay. All right. So let's say that everyone's in a big circle. how do I talk about this without like talking about chopping off the hand? Everyone's in a big circle. Somebody walks around blindfolded and chooses a hand, chooses somebody, hand attached, chooses it, and they see if that hand represents the whole group, like the average hand of the group. Okay, so this is difficult because what we're doing is we're taking a description of something that we already know the characteristics of. So we know the population. Now, if we make a bigger group and we want to know, take 3 hands or take 5 hands out of 30, then of course we're going to more likely represent the better what the population, the other 30 hands are. But then the question is, how you're even going to, what's the average size? Okay, we could measure size of hand. What's the average? I don't know, like how, I don't know, what do I call it? The size of the fingers, okay? I don't know. But you would have to pick out some attribute of the hand, and then that goes into your question. So if I drew 3 hands out of this group of hands, I want to see, do these hands have the same size of fingers in relation to other fingers than everyone else, okay? So not the greatest example, but we can make it into an example, and I think we all kind of get it, right? So it's still along the same lines, okay? There's just a lot of questions I would have on how we would do that, right? But it could be done. Okay, so this last one, can you?
So I didn't actually think it through of what we would be testing with regards to notebooks.
Yeah.
So the first picture with a bunch of random squares, that's the population of notebooks. And then we narrow it down to the 5-star brand, college rule spiral. And then we narrow that down to a 3 subject. And then to a specific color, maybe red for instance. And that could be the sample within the population. If that makes sense.
What's the sample, the specific color?
The specific color, the 3 subject notebook, that's college rule, and the 5-star group.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're sort of taking a hierarchy. So
I just narrowed it down.
you just narrowed it down, right, to one characteristic. Okay, well that could be a start. Okay, so say that so we're gonna have to expand the question. So, say I'm interested in the color of notebooks that exist, let's just say in this class, okay? So let's say that you guys are the population, and the color notebook that you have for this class, used to this class, okay? So I want to know, let's just say I simply want to know if I draw a sample, okay? I want to know if that sample is going to be representative of the colors. So if we have, obviously, green, okay, we know, we're looking at colors, okay? So we have these colors, and, okay, so let's say we do not know what the population is. So right now, I don't know what color your notebooks are. And I could peek at those in the front, but I'm not going to because I want this to be a random sample. So I don't know, but I'm going to randomly say, you and you and you and you and you and you. I want to see the color of your notebooks, okay? So actually, let's do that, okay? So let's do your notebook. You can just tell me what it is. It's white, okay? And there's no more of that. And I wish I knew names, so sorry guys. Hat. Red. This is so like, could be offensive, sorry. Fuzzy jackets.
Black.
Black, cool. let's do two more. Let's do, coffee. And curly hair. Maroon?
Yeah.
Okay, so just being very unscientific here, all right? So I have drawn these colors randomly. So how many of you have white? Raise your hand. Anyone have white for this class? One person? Anyone have red? Several. Black?